Okay, we're live. Results on a Rampage for Tuesday, July 29th, 2014. This is our third or fourth one of these, and it now just said live, so maybe I screwed that up. Results on a Rampage, Tuesday, July 29th. Thank you for all of those that are here, both in the chat, or excuse me, in the film strip, and watching on YouTube. We have a bunch of help. Dennis, Deuce, has come generously come to help us figure out Comment Tracker, which has had some significant changes. What I want to do first, before I start on the piece, so we've been doing the results equation. So I talked in the first Hangout about the results equation. The second one I talked about understanding the present. The third one I talked about the mental earthquake. This is the fourth one I'm talking about creating the future. But before we get into that, one of the things I did in the first Hangout was ask people that wanted to put down some goals to do that, to write down some 90-day objectives, because my coaching programs are usually in 90-day increments, so that's kind of naturally what I think. We had a few people do that, and it's been now 3 or 4 weeks since then, and they should be making some progress, or not. And public accountability is part of the help of any coaching process. And so I know Manny did, I know Griswold did, and a couple of others put some goals down, and I want to invite anyone that wants to come in now. I put the link to the Hangout on the actual event page, so anyone that wants to come in, grab that link and join. I see some are here. If you want to report on your 90-day goals, if you've made progress and what's going on, please do. And if you want to create a 90-day goal, if you haven't done that and you want to throw it down in public for some public accountability, now is the time. So any of you that are in here, unmute if you'd like to join and say so. Griswold, I see you unmuted. Let's hear what you're up to.
Well, my goal, to remind everybody, is to have 3 Hangouts with guests done by September 15th, and I've got 2 soft commits. This week, I've been focusing on the equipment I'm going to want before I get them running, and conveniently, Susie had a Hangout today just on that subject, so things are going pretty well.
Great. So you feel like you're on track?
Definitely. Definitely.
Fantastic. That's an excellent report, and not a shill in the audience. So we've got somebody that threw down some goals and is making good progress for that. That's excellent. Anybody else want to report on 90-day goals they either didn't do yet, or did do yet, or new ones they want to leverage in front of the community?
I have a 90-minute goal.
Okay, Dennis has a 90-minute goal.
Yeah, I want to understand the new comment tracker within the next 90 minutes.
All right, a 90-minute goal. This is a 30-minute Hangout, so you have 3 Hangouts worth of time to do that. All right, we'll have to just kind of take a rain check on figuring out whether or not that happened, and we'll check, if I remember, on the next Hangout, which of course will be next Tuesday night. So one of the things that I did this afternoon was I did a. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Want to come in with their 90-day goal? Kristen.
Yeah. Okay, so I have not completed the objectives that I set out to complete it within that span of time. However, I have lined up a few more show guests. So progress on one front, you know, it's balancing.
Hey, so do you feel like you're on track, I guess is the question.
Do I feel on track?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. Now I'm going to do something I should have done to start with. When Griswold was talking, I didn't blue box him so people got to see him. So I'm blue boxing him now so that he's on the YouTube video. This is Griswold, the fellow that gave the goals to start with, and my error was not in having my white box off. So I apologize. I'm putting him on here late, and he waved. So very good. Thank you, Griswold, and I apologize for not having you on when you were talking. I did not make that mistake with Kristen, so she was up, and again, I wasn't fast enough on the trigger with that. Okay, I see Manny is not here. He put some goals in there about a paper that he was writing on his core value alignment. I'm not sure how that comes, but perhaps I'll mention it here, and if he watches this later, he can update us in the comment area. Anyone else want to comment on what they are doing on their 90-day goals? Joy, go ahead.
Well, I have, some very aggressive goals and, very aggressive schedule because, having involved in 3 businesses, it's a little challenging sometimes. So I find, I'm making progress in some areas, but then it's at the expense of other areas. So, making progress in skincare, but then at the expense of my antiques business, and then making progress in one area, and it's at the expense of another. So I find a little bit challenging to juggle things, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is that, I just need to hire some additional help to help manage those day-to-day things and the administrative tasks and the things that, I need to be working on high leverage activities as opposed to feeling like I'm just doing, an endless stream of administrative tasks, which are important to do, but not necessarily, fulfilling my goals. So I've been finding that a bit challenging to deal with.
Well, good. That's not good that it's challenging, but good you've raised a point. So one of the issues that I face all the time as a coach is helping people prioritize, helping people figure out what's really, on the critical path. And there's lots of ways to do that. There's lots of tools or tricks that you can do it. But one of them, is just a simple question, and that is this one. And I've used it before. I used it sort of analogy of a pirate's spyglass. And when you're faced with a choice, I have limited time and I can do A, B, or C, I say to myself, can I see the 90-day goal through the lens of this activity right now, through the lens of my daily activities? If I can't see my 90-day goal through the lens of what I'm doing right now, then it's the wrong thing. However attractive, fun, or urgent it might seem right now, and unless it's burning down the house or something like that, then you just have to find the discipline to change it. And I'll give you a funny example. We have a huge plumbing problem right now, and we have a relatively new house, and it's quite funny because suddenly about, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago we started having a slow drain, and we dealt with it and did all the regular chemical things and so forth, and finally we had a plumber out yesterday, and it turns out to have turned into this incredibly growing monster that we're now talking about. We're way past taking snakes and way past all of that nonsense. We're now to drilling holes and cutting out pieces of walls and replacing pieces of pipe, and there's even talk of jackhammering up concrete, and maybe there's rebar in the plumbing pipe, and this massive nightmare that has gone from non-existent to imminent dragon in the space of a day and a half. So we'll see about that one. That's one that kind of pressed itself upon us. So that's a funny one. Anyway, so let me. Anybody else have comments that they want to add before I get to the create the future, which was the topic of today's hangout? Okay, cool.
I actually do have something serious.
Okay.
Even though I didn't plan on being here, I am working on rolling out 2 weekly hangouts on air around the subject of working with charities, both fundraising and kind of marketing for them. And I'm hoping that we'll have both of those out within the next 90 days. But there's a lot of work to these particular groups and the people I'm working with, and it's quite different from the standard HOAs I do. So a lot of learning going on for me.
So fantastic, and thank you for sharing. Do you have a critical path map in terms of, okay, if day 90 these 2 hangouts or these 2 things have to be done, sort of a 60-day milestone, 30, and sort of a critical path map like, the prerequisites of college or something laid out so you know what has to happen in what order?
I haven't gone that serious with this project. I do a lot of planning in that method and run most of my shows once I get them in process that way, but I tend to like to kind of come up with the graphics first, because once I've got the graphics it gives me a vision for the rest of the thing. So I start here and then I go out here and come back. Mm-hmm. So I'm at step 1, which is just really nucleus stuff today.
Well, cool. We hold these every week, as you know, and I think this is the first time you've attended live, and you might have seen some of the replays, but if you want to keep us updated on that, that would be great, because as I stated the first night, the purpose of the results on a Rampage is to help people get things done. my whole coaching business is about that, and we named this Results on a Rampage because it's on Tuesday night, and on Tuesday afternoon, just 2.5 hours ago at 4 o'clock Pacific, I did my LA Talk radio show, which is every Tuesday at 4 Pacific time, and I've been doing that for, I don't know, 15, 16 months, and it's focused on businesses, entrepreneurs, and Results on a Rampage, how to get things done, and done well, done fast, and done in an incredible sort of quantity and quality. So if you want to keep us updated on that as days go by, that'd be great. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one more.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, a couple of weeks ago, or last week or the week before, I can't remember, when we got back from Toronto last week, and I had that breakthrough about focusing on the 50% that we can control as opposed to, you know, focusing on the 50% that of our life that we have no control over, essentially. And as I've been thinking about that and going through and, you know, managing the different pieces of each of our businesses, that was actually quite an interesting breakthrough, because now I'm finding that, you know, with that release, that knowledge that, you know, I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. I'm just as busy, but yet I'm getting a lot more done because I've gotten rid of that 50% that I don't have any control over. So now I'm 100% focused on my 50%. And even though, like I said, I'm just as busy, but it's like, wow, this feels really good. Like, I'm getting a lot done now, you know. And before it was a lot of this churn, and even like with the plumbing problem, it's like, so what, you know, it happens. I mean, you know, 6-year-old house or whatever. I mean, stuff happens after a while. It's just regular maintenance. It's like, oh well, boom, I've got something to do. I'm not letting it, you know, get in the way of any goals that I have to achieve. So.
What Joy's referring to is, I think on the first Hangout we talked about that gal, and I've forgotten her name. She did 10 years, and Christopher will appreciate this, 10 years of Harvard medical research. She is a doctor, but not a medical doctor. She's a business psychologist and has a book written. She drew it at this mastermind we were at. She drew a circle and said, you know, half the stuff in our life, she just arbitrarily, but half the stuff is stuff you can control and half the stuff is below the line, stuff you can't. And she talked a lot about making sure that we focus our attention here and don't, you know, you drain our energy by worrying below the line. And so she used above the line, below the line, and that was a really powerful graphic, and Joyce talked about it a number of times, so I'm repeating it here. And the name of the book, I think, is in the comments section of the first Hangout.
Yeah, it's Dr. Sharon Melnick, Melnick. And I think it's Success Under Stress. Yeah, it's a really good book.
Success Under Stress, Dr. Sharon Melnick. Anyways, above the line, below the line, and where to keep your focus and keep it from draining your energy. All right, well, good. That's been some really good discussion. So in the first Hangout, we talked about the results equation, which is an equation that I developed for creating results. And it has 5 terms. And the second, and we talked about the first term, which was up, understand the present. And it's really difficult to make any progress if we don't know where we are. And we talked in that Hangout about the 3 critical questions for understanding the present. In the second one, the second term was me, M-E, which is not me, of course, but it stood for mental earthquake. And we talked about the mental earthquake, meaning the shaking up of things and creating the power to, you know, generating the power to make some substantial changes. Today is CF, okay? CF is the third term, and I don't have my little graphic to hold up with the whole results equation, but it's in one of the Hangouts. But this term is CF, and it stands for Create the Future. And so let's talk about that for a minute. Create the Future is the third piece of the results equation, and this is the thing that we do intentionally, and there's a way that we'll talk about how to do it that I found to be very effective, to create a vision that is so compelling that it draws us toward it. So the 3 points that I said we were going to talk about was first how to create the future. Now, obviously, we don't create the future in the Harry Potter sense, but creating the future in this sense is talking about, like what Dennis mentioned, about creating a vision, intentionally building a model of the future. So if I want a particular result, and the results equation is designed to apply to a specific circumstance, so I want to launch a product, or I want to get a sales funnel up, or I want to create a business. I mean, it can be a big business, a big goal, or a small one, but the process is the same. Creating the future is building intentionally a vision of the future state that is so compelling that it's captivating, it creates emotional reaction, it creates an energy around it. And so the first step is to intentionally create that vision. And it's a process. It's way more than just thinking about it. It's way more than, let's say I want to create the future where I have a certain vehicle. Okay? And I'm going to put my phone away because it's beeping and I didn't turn it off, and I want to take the time to do it right now. Creating the future in that way is I'm going to drive. I don't know how to turn it off. This is terrible. All right, I'm going to picture myself with this car, and I'm going to create the future vision of myself in this car, but it's going to be so real and so powerful that when I think about it, it creates an emotional reaction. Now, you know, when you sit in a new car, certainly when you're thinking about buying, you know, you feel a certain way. So, for example, the first time I bought a hot rod, I've owned several, and one of them was a Dodge Viper. Seen them before, and I wanted to buy one. So when I went to do that, you know, I got in it, and I had this whole visceral reaction and so forth, and different cars for different people, but that was one for me, and I had this whole intense reaction and so forth. That kind of reaction you can create mentally. We know, for example, athletes do it all the time. They go through the mental exercises of, you know, shooting baskets, doing the ski down the hill, the kind of thing that actually creates the physical reaction. So creating the future involves, first of all, creating a vision that is so compelling that it literally draws you toward it and gives you the physical reaction that you would have experiencing. So there's some keys, some keys to doing that. And the initials that I created for that are SSD. So in all of these, I've been given some initials and some formulas and so forth. So today's formula, the term is CF for create the future, and the keys are SSD, and we'll talk about that. First S stands for sensory, or involving the senses. So when you create the vision of the future, involve all of your senses. When I have that state completed, what will it look like? What will I actually be looking at? What will it smell like? The new car smell, if a car's it, or if it's, you know, vacation on a lake or in a house, you know, whatever, a houseboat or something. I mean, what will it smell like? I'm going to take this huge vacation to Hawaii or to Tahiti, and I'm going to be on the beach. So I'm going to smell the salt air and so forth. So what senses can you involve? If it's a thing, you can have tactile senses. If it's a feeling, you want to have a change in relationships, then the senses would be, what things am I going to feel? I'm going to have the feeling of gratitude for this person. I'm going to have a feeling of overwhelming attraction. I'm going to have a feeling of tenderness. I'm going to have, you know, those kinds of feelings. And to get really specific about the senses that would be involved. Now, the research shows that the more senses you can involve, the more powerful and realistic the vision becomes. And so spending time first creating the vision with all of its great detail and involving as many senses as possible, and then spending time thinking in that vision is a very powerful way to have that vision attract you and draw you toward it. So one of the things we did at the Speed Profit Marketing event that some of you have been to is we spent some time in meditation. And in the meditation process, when you go to your place, then spending time with that vision and re-experiencing those senses is a key piece of that continuing attraction. So the second S, I said SSD, stands for specifics. Okay, so for example, if I'm going to have a new house, I'm going to create a reality where I have the new house. I've created the sensory feeling of walking across the threshold, looking at the light fixtures in the living room. It's got a 10-foot ceiling, or look at the big shop that's in the garage, and whatever it is that your sensory thing involved. But then the specifics are, okay, I'm going to do that by December of 2015. I'm going to have milestones where I have the down payment accumulating in this amount, and you get very specific about the vision that you're creating. And so, for example, specifics would be, I'm going to be able to look at my bank statement in 3 months, and I'm going to see this much in there because I'm accumulating a down payment. Or I have another piece of property I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell it for this much, and so the money's going to come from that. And as many specifics as you can have about the objective, it also contributes to the power of it because it makes it more real. If I sit and I think, well, I'm going to be rich and famous, and I don't do any specifics about what that means. Well, that means I'm going to hang out with these people. I'm going to go to these cities. I'm going to take them European trips. I'm going to see myself on the top of the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to, or whatever it is, or I'm going to, Dennis was talking about, some work with charities. I've done some volunteer work and so forth. In fact, I had a client who was a fundraiser, a professional fundraiser for nonprofits. And so in that regard, we talked about specific goals and exactly when he was going to hold Hangouts and what the topics of those Hangouts were going to be and what the specific targets were for fundraising was and who were going to be the guests on the Hangouts and so forth. So the specifics of the goal are the second piece, and the D is closely related, but there's a subtle difference, and the D stands for details. Details and specifics, I create a difference. Specifics are about the goal, and the details I tend to do or think of myself is about the details of how I feel, how other people are going to react. So, for example, let's go back to the car. The detail is when I get this car, my neighbor's going to, or my friends are going to say, how did you afford that? How dare you buy that car? You idiot, what did you spend that money for? Whatever it is that you think the details, the nuances of that entire vision of your future is. So in creating the future, whatever the goal is, and I've used several things, it can be, let's pick one that is an epidemic right now, weight. Okay, we have people that want to lose weight. So I want to lose 40 pounds. I want to do it in, let me use a real one actually, this was me. When I was in my 30s, I had to lose 80 pounds. So I needed to lose 80 pounds. I had to lose it by these dates. I created the vision of myself in different clothes, of looking, a different way, of what I was going to where I was going to go. The details were who was going to say, wow, you've lost a bunch of weight, you look good. More detail was I was just starting to enroll in martial arts for the seventh time. That's something I've done all my life. I was going to earn certain degrees, and I was going to do all these things, and the details were very compelling. So senses, specifics, and details are the critical pieces of creating a vision that's really compelling. Uh-oh. I'm frozen. I'm going to F5 this. Do I need to? I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Well, you still sound terrific.
I think my camera, I had a different camera on. I'm using a different one now. I think the one ran out of battery, so that's my, I checked it and I think it ran out. So I'm sorry the picture's a little fuzzy, but in this other camera's not as nice. So anyway, when I did lose that weight, I had all of the details, the senses, the specifics, and it was a very compelling vision that dragged me through the process of losing ultimately 90 pounds, and I lost too much. I looked like a stick, and I had to put 10 pounds back on. So it was very successful. It took many, many months to do, and it was very difficult, but I was able to accomplish that using this specific tool and method that we've talked about before. So that's the piece of the results equation I wanted to talk about tonight. Done with that. We have 6 minutes left, so let's please take advantage of any reactions or discussion that anybody has about that thought, or any experiences that you might have, or nuances that you'd like to add to what I've presented.
I have a question, if that's cool.
Cool, please.
If your vision includes, like, say, your spouse, is it beneficial to co-create that vision together? So that would that increase or decrease the pull that vision has toward you?
So that's a fabulous, fabulous question because it unlocks an entire area about change. Often we think about change in relation to others, particularly in the relationship area. So the foundation piece is we don't control anybody else. We control who we are, what we do, and that's it. So the question you have is a good one, and I'm going to break it into two parts. If we're trying to use the change thing to influence somebody else, that's always dangerous because we don't control what they do. On the other hand, if they are joining us and they are fully committed to that vision and the change and the difference and they want to do it, then co-creating is very beneficial because you can then do what we're doing here with goals. You can hold each other accountable, you can talk out loud, you can say, how'd you do today? Let's say you both want to get in shape. So, okay, let's go for a walk together. Let's get up every morning and go, for half an hour walk and with weights in our arms or water bottles or whatever it is, right? And so those can be really helpful if they are truly co-created and they're visions that both of you can get behind. On the other hand, particularly in relationships, sometimes somebody wants to create a goal, and the goal is really, I'm going to do this so that you'll that. I'm going to do this so that you will, and those can get really thorny really fast. So if they're truly co-created and truly co-supported, then that can be helpful because of the shared accountability. And if they're done to the extent of trying to influence somebody, then you can stumble over the fact that we don't control anybody else's feelings or their reaction to what we're doing.
Thank you.
But that's a fabulous question. Thank you. Other comments or questions?
I reached my goal.
You reached your goal. Oh, hey. Now,
See?
this is results on a rampage.
There you go. See? I got it.
Welcome, my friend, William Rock. William, welcome. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that Dennis reached his goal. So, Dennis, tell us how it feels to be the first example of results on a rampage, reaching your goal in 1/3 of the projected time.
It feels pretty good, I gotta say. I mean, reaching a goal feels good, but in 1/3 of the time, it feels even better. I'm gonna go celebrate by creating a new video on how to do comment tracker, because my old one is useless.
Well, thank you for both figuring it out, and I'll look forward to looking at that video, and everybody on the Hangout will be first in for grabbing the new cool info. All right, so and anyone else? Kristen, you have something to say? I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Dennis if you're getting, because I'm supposed to be doing comment tracker for someone in the morning, and I would just absolutely love it if I could be on doing that video. If you want to do it like right after.
You got it. Let's talk.
All right. So see, hey, we've got real-time goals being accomplished and real-time changes. So that's cool. All right, Joy, Christopher, anybody else got anything to comment or add today? All right, I'm going to go to the event page and see if we've got any other comments, questions. Joy, are you looking at the event page? I see William Rock says, hello, peeps. And I don't see any other questions. How do you narrow in the details? That's where I really fall short. Okay, Cheryl's got a question. How do you narrow in the detail? That's where I really fall short. That's a really good question, and thank you for that. That's a good way to end it, if it turns out to be our last question. If you find you can't narrow in the details, that's a real good clue that you don't know specifically what you want. And so that's a very compelling and sort of hard to deal with statement. One of the things that we all do is we have this vague vision of something we want to have. I want to have more money. I want to be a good boy, Johnny. I want to, whatever it is, right? But we have these vague statements, and that's one of the reasons we actually don't accomplish our goals, is because we create vague statements and we don't spend very much time thinking about what actually will be different. So one of the first things I ask my clients when I'm helping them, coaching them, either in business or whatever, is, okay, if you have a 90-day goal, on day 91, Tell me what happens that day. And the first thing they always say is, oh, I feel really good because I got the goal done. No, 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 no. You get up at what time? You do what in relation to whatever it is that they've accomplished, right? And getting specific is a practice. It's a habit. And details means two things. It means that you've actually thought about the goal enough so that you know exactly what it means to get there. So let's compare it to coming into a harbor. A sailor, a captain that has sailed a ship into a particular harbor many times, knows exactly what the harbor looks like. He knows where the lighthouse sits, he knows where the piers are, he knows exactly what's going on. The first time, it's very vague. He hasn't been there before. So to help with that, you gather as much information as possible. Get some pictures, go look at it, and I'm talking about the captain. He would know exactly, talk to other captains, and so forth, to know exactly what you're looking at. So that's why people create vision boards. That's why people create, you know, even audio recordings of them describing. One of the tools is get a tape recorder. Say exactly how you're feeling on the day you accomplish your goal. Let's say you wanted to finish a degree. I'm walking up the stairs. They're handing me the diploma. I just flipped my tasks from one side to the other. I'm ecstatic. I throw my hat in the air. I clap my hands. My friend hugs me at the side of the stage. I'm jumping up and down inside because I finally finished XYZ, whatever it is. And practice and making yourself do it is a way that I help people create details. And relentless questioning. Okay, what does it feel like? Why? What does that let you do? People talk about wanting more money in their business. Okay, good. You want more money to do what? And what are you going to do with that? And what is that going to let you do? And what does that feel like? And then when you feel like that, what are you going to do? And how are you going to celebrate? And just keep asking those questions until the details come. And it takes a little work. Okay. Dum-da-dum-da-dum. Let me see. I see William says, setting goals, great segue. My next goal is to take over the world. So, William, I'll want to have you be on a Hangout and report how that's going for you. That's an ambitious goal. Do you have a time frame for that? Is that a 90-day or a 12-month goal? Cue the laughter, right? Tee-hee-hee. Okay, fine. All right, we're to the end. Thank you for the questions. Anybody else have any final comments of the strip that's on today?
I liked what Scott Scowcraft said when he said visioning is powerful and something I know I all too often ignore. Create a space, then walk into it. I just like that. How I put that.
That is. I didn't see that. And visioning is extremely powerful. There's a product out called Mind Movies. That's someone that's made a product of creating little movies. It's basically a video vision board. But the idea of creating a vision board of exactly what you want and so forth, I couldn't endorse the comment highly enough, and I would have mentioned it or read it if I'd seen it. I have trouble following all those and you know running this thing. So sorry about that, Scott. Thank you for that comment. It's absolutely true. Any other comments before we end up today? Okay, thanks all of you for coming, and we'll see you next week. If you want a fun show, you can listen to my results on a Rampage rant today. It was pretty ranty. It's on latalkradio.com, and the date will be today, and you can download that. They're all there, 68 episodes. But anyway, today's was kind of fun. Thanks for coming.
Kellen?
Yeah.
Cheryl just had a comment. She said, I know you were at the end, but how do you approach a goal that is being forced on you so your passion is not behind it, but you still have to accomplish it? Good question.
That's a fabulous question. So we'll take a little extra time and talk about it. We often, particularly at work and particularly in relationships and other things, find ourselves having to do something that we're not really passionate about. That can be, let's use a work example. You got a project at work and you couldn't care less about it. So here's what I do with that. I go back to choice. I actually have a choice. I don't have to do that. I don't have to work there. I can quit and I can do something else. Okay? That's actually a choice. And everybody says, well, you have to have a job. Yeah, you do. But you don't have to work there. You do have that choice. And if you go to that place and you say, well, I have to work there. Okay, that's a choice. Cool. You get to make it. So I choose to work there. Now, as a condition of working, and this is the mental exercise I actually go through, as a condition of working there, I need to make them happy. I need to do a good job. Now, my personal ethic is that I don't do crap. I don't do things halfway. I just don't do that. So since I choose to work here, my choice, and my personal ethic is to do a good job because I don't like to do stuff halfway, not my nature, then I'm going to do a good job. My choice. Doing a good job means lining it up, 90 days. Can I see the, lands the whole thing? Because I'm going to turn it in good. I'm going to turn it in 2 days early. You're going to knock their socks off because that's who I am. So that's the way I generate energy around projects that I didn't want to do. I go back to the choice. I actually don't have to do that. Now, there may be a circumstance where someone is literally able to force you to do something, but it's extremely rare because you actually do have choice most of the time. You may not like the consequences of the other choice, but it's still a choice. So making that choice, making it conscious, owning it, and then creating my personal ethic around excellence is how I handle that. Anything else, Joy? Appreciate you grabbing that. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you next time. Until next week, create your own results on a rampage.